Hello everyone and welcome to the LinkedIn Sales Solutions One Revenue Organisation panel discussion, filming live from Salesforce World Tour in Sydney. Our panel will explore how organisations can improve sales and marketing alignment to become one revenue organisation to accelerate growth. I'm Fiona Pettigrew and I'm a sales leader at LinkedIn Sales Solutions for Australia and New Zealand and your host for the panel. And joining me on the panel are three very special guests: Sally Mack, Head of Revenue Operations at Safety Culture, Carrie Smith, Head of Marketing for Accenture Australia, and Gail Moody-Bird, Vice President of Marketing for LinkedIn Sales Solutions. Ladies, welcome to the panel. Thank you for joining us at World Tour today. Now, in terms of introductions, we have a tradition at LinkedIn, and we start our introductions with getting to know you a little bit better and sharing something that is not on your LinkedIn profile. So in the spirit of traditions, can I ask you all to share something that is not on your profile and tell us a little bit more about each of your roles? And Sally, we might start with you.
Sure. Okay, so I'm Sally. I lead our revenue operations team over at Safety Culture, which is an Australian founded startup based out of Surrey Hills. Something that is not on my LinkedIn is actually a job that I don't have listed on there that I did for about a month between a couple of roles. I was actually an Uber driver for a little while there. Between my time at Rugby and then Microsoft, I drove Ubers, which was a bit of fun.
Great way to learn about Sydney. And
great way to learn about Sydney.
Shortcuts to everywhere.
Exactly.
Well done, and Carrie?
So I head up marketing and sales, marketing for Accenture ANZ. The thing that's not on my LinkedIn profile is that I can water ski. I think my family will all laugh at me because I've been saying this is my thing for a long time, and I think I'm going to have to find something new soon. But I will say that I got up on two skis not that long ago. I'm going to say a couple of weeks. So I've still got it, I reckon.
Okay, I like that. I can see water skiing bringing in some speed and agility, which is what we need in sales and marketing. So
Exactly.
Welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
And Gail, welcome to Sydney, all the way from San Francisco.
All the way from San Francisco. So again, I lead sales solutions marketing globally, and something that's not on my profile. So if you remember Hidden Figures and Katherine Johnson, she was my mother's math teacher in junior high school in West Virginia. And so my mother has fond memories of her being a really tough instructor that expected a lot out of her students, but she also recommended her for a college scholarship. She got her interested in her sorority, our sorority, and so she has fond memories of Katherine Johnson.
Wow, great. Fantastic mentor to have at such a young age.
Yes.
All right, well, let's get into it. Now, sales and marketing alignment has been a sort of long-standing issue or frenemies within our organisations. And I want to start with a recent study that was commissioned by LinkedIn and Forrester. And it identified 4 key pillars to help enable sales and marketing alignment. Number 1 was around strategy and making sure we have shared goals and KPIs. Number 2 was around process and making sure we use the same platforms for a single source of truth. Number 3 was around messaging, and that's having a consistent go-to-market message that addresses customer needs. And finally, but not least, certainly culture, making sure there's joint planning, a common language, and day-to-day engagement across the 2 functions. Sally, interested to just understand how as a revenue operations manager, you're driving process to help, or creating processes to help drive sales and marketing alignment.
For sure. So I think we do a couple of things at Safety Culture to try and bridge that gap between sales and marketing that has traditionally existed, and a lot of that actually sort of sits within the RevOps function and our, I guess, reason for being. One of the key pieces, we actually have an extended part of our team, so a real cross-functional team that actually sits within the marketing org, our MarTech manager, to that sort of systems lens, having those systems and data flows that sort of really seamlessly connect across both marketing and sales is really pivotal to making sure everyone's on that same page. So by having this MarTech manager that sort of from a planning and processes perspective as it pertains to any systems changes, he's a real extended part of our RevOps team, so he's very much working hand in hand, acting as that conduit between marketing and Salesforce on what we build and how we build, and making sure that sort of all flows. I think the other thing that we really try and focus on, and we've been doing a lot more of this in recent times, is partnering with our lifecycle marketing team to really build out more scalable one-to-many communication programs that we've perhaps not necessarily had before that actually is applied to the full sales managed base as well as our self-serve base. So that's, everything from helping with like renewals conversations and driving product adoption through nurture comms, and even trying to get inbounds and hand raisers through to the sales team. It's sort of in that partnership in the planning and making sure that messaging is consistent with what we're currently speaking to customers about on both sides.
Great. So I hear real key takeout there around automation, helping you drive cohesion across the two teams.
Definitely.
And bringing in that consistent messaging.
Definitely.
Right. And Carrie, now Accenture is a much more mature organisation. How are you changing the culture to help build sales and marketing alignment at Accenture?
I'm very lucky at Accenture. We've got a really strong marketing and sales culture. From the very top, marketing and sales both sit on the executive leadership team globally. I sit alongside my sales counterpart on the leadership team in ANZ, and we very much considered part of the leadership team driving growth and revenue and everything else in the Australian business. So that actually works really well. We're already sitting as peers along with the other leaders of the firm. The other thing though is, as a firm, we've got a really strong culture of one strategy that we all get behind. And so there's no separate marketing strategy to a sales strategy to the actual strategy of the firm. There's one strategy and all of us are behind that. And our marketing strategy actually underpins what's happening in sales. So I think I actually feel really fortunate to be able to work in an environment where that can happen.
Great. Yeah, it starts with a really strong partnership at the top.
For sure.
To lead from the front. And Gail, really interested to get your perspective on certainly a recent example from maybe LinkedIn around how marketing is helping bring a cohesive statement to customers.
So our launch of Deep Sales in September was really kind of living the dream of sales and marketing collaboration. We worked together not only to identify the customer's problem, which was a buyer-seller disconnect, but after defining the problem, determining what the narrative would be, what the sales deck would be, how we would take this to our field. We trained 1,200 salespeople on a narrative that was jointly developed by sales and marketing along with the input of product. And so anyone you speak to across our organization in sales or marketing or product would all say the same things about what we do and the problems we solve. Taking the top seller habits, putting those top seller habits into our product, shifting the performance curves of organizations. And so as we developed this, we made sure that it resonated with all of our internal constituents. We did some external testing, and now, again, anyone you ask, same answer, all bought in, very cohesive statement. I think it's one of the first times for our group it's ever been done, and so it's been wildly successful and a great learning for all of us in terms of what's really possible.
Yes, Gail, I have some really fond memories of capes and masks at the Deep Sales training. So it was certainly one of the first times in my sort of long sales career that I really had the buy-in or, spent the time with marketing to really learn the message together and have that dedicated time built out. So fantastic example of sales and marketing alignment. So as I said, organisations have struggled with sales and marketing alignment for a long time, many decades. And I think we've often been called the odd couple. We have very different behaviours, yet we're intrinsically linked or connected when it comes to business growth. And I think that's become more paramount in the last couple of years. Certainly we've had the pandemic, which saw a dramatic shift to digital selling. We've now seen the buying committee rise to, on average, over 6 people to get approvals. And we've also got the rise of the educated buyer. A recent study by LinkedIn found that buyers are actually only spending 5% of their purchasing time with sellers. It's a really small window to make an impact, and a lot of that happens already in the market and their assessment and research. So Sally, interested to understand, with all these socio-economic pressures, how safety culture is building resilience in the go-to-market strategy.
So I think one of the key things that have really changed for us in light of where things are at the moment is actually just a combined focus on retention of our existing customers, and that being a shared goal across marketing and sales. So as much as it is about that, upfront initial sale and yes, influencing those buying circles, it's also having that same focus on a renewal conversation and making sure that we're sort of doing the work well ahead of that renewal conversation to help the customer get value out of the product, to be seeing, whether it be through driving different avenues of product adoption or new use cases, learning from different customers and creating that kind of narrative around how customers like you have used safety culture in their business and therefore what you can be doing. I think that's been a real joint focus for both in creating that messaging and then also messaging that out through both sales-led and marketing-led funnels. But what that's really helped us do is also create better outcomes for our customers in that environment as well, because I think ultimately, ours is a product that tries to help customers create efficiencies in their business. So in an environment like the one that we're in at the moment, efficiency is kind of the name of the game, right? It's what we're all trying to do better at. So by that joint sort of, improvement engine narrative that we're really looking to get across the full customer life cycle and that joint focus on retention, it's really helped bring some of that alignment in place in these current times.
Yeah, so true. I think that focus on the customer, creating customer value and their journey through all the interactions with sales and marketing is so important to retain that customer. And Carrie, interested to understand how Accenture is managing the economic instability and pivoting their strategy to build growth in the market.
I'm going to show my age here, but I find that in periods like this, we actually work better together. Sales and marketing work really well in times of change. So if we go back to the global financial crisis, then you go to COVID, and now you go to this post-COVID environment that's unclear for all of us as to where it's going. I find that that's when our teams actually work really well together. We are crystal clear on what the client needs are, and it's really clear to everybody what they are. It's really great for marketing to create campaigns that sales can actually literally take to clients that are meaningful in that current environment. So I've found that actually we work really well together. We have, through these periods, we sometimes come up with campaigns that are, let's call them accelerated campaigns, where there's certain things that we know clients really need from us, and then we've got a marketing campaign to support the sales guys in taking that to our clients. So it's actually, it's a really great time for partnership.
Responding to that pressure and undergoing a common change, I guess, is helping build that alignment. Certainly in my role, I get asked by a lot of other sales leaders around how they can respond to the educated buyer and make their sales team more insights driven to educate and learn and respond to that buyer. Sally, how is their safety culture leveraging data and technology to build pipeline?
For sure. So I actually think this is one area that we stand to really do a lot better in. And I think a reason why I say that is by nature of us having a freemium business model, so customers can sign up to our product for free and use it in perpetuity for free. What that means is that we have a ton of data at any one point in time, and the actual volume of data from both new customers coming in, those free sign-ups, as well as actually how they then use the product. We run the risk, and we have done previously, of almost having too much data to know what to do with it or how to harness it really well. So I think a couple of real examples of that is, we have, by nature of that free sign-up volume, almost had a real recency bias to how we're looking at new customers coming through the door. We're very much focused on that first, 14 days of a customer signing up, and we've really realised that that's perhaps not the best time to be speaking to some of these buyers. They're not ready yet. They want to actually get their hands in there and start using the product, see that value, and then it's the right time to have that conversation. So I think we're doing some work at the moment to really see how we can be looking at more of that product usage data to sort of inform intent and inform signals and inform when the right time to be reaching out to these customers are, as opposed to just when they first come through the front door. I think the other piece is also thinking of creative ways to harness the actual product usage data to inform the next best conversation to be having with those customers. We're very, very fortunate to have such a wealth of template data, names of different inspections that our customers are doing or training that they're perhaps completing, and being able to, through a lot of heavy lifting from our data team, create some algorithms and sort of structure around that can be fed back through to our sales team to say, hey, this customer here is using one part of our platform for something that can actually be used and leveraged over here. Maybe now's the right time to have a chat to them about training, for example, which is a new part of our platform. So there's sort of a couple of things that we've got in the works, but I'd say there's a long way for us to go to really, really harness the power of our data.
Yeah, great to hear. So again, we just had a fantastic example from Safety Culture of how they're trying to utilise the data and bring automation into advancing that conversation with the customer. How do you see what's the importance of the technology stack, and how do you see that moving forward to help alignment between sales and marketing?
Sure. So it's so interesting that we're here at the Salesforce World Tour event. I think for so many of us, CRM is that lifeline. It's the system of record for the business. So be it Sales Cloud or Microsoft Dynamics, syncing sales and marketing activity using CRM as that single source of truth, and then plugging tools like Sales Navigator into that product so that sales and marketing have the same view of the pipeline. At the end of the day, we're all targeting the same customers. There may be different roles within those organizations, but I'd like to know who's engaging with marketing for my targets. The sales team would like to know who's interested in those same targets. And so we're doing a lot of work internally to understand the Venn diagram between marketing targets and sales targets to find those opportunities. We have data that shows that customers of ours who are using our marketing product, our ads product, as well as our sales product, are both seeing benefits. I think the numbers are like 20 to 30% more likely to engage and respond if they are a target of sales. And on the sales side, if they're a target of the marketing team, they're much more likely to respond to an in-mail or to an inquiry. So if they see you approaching from the sales side, from the marketing side, the company, the vendor becomes known. And so for me, the only way to do business is to have sales and marketing thinking about the same targets, approaching them, and using that systematic Venn diagram approach so that we move from what's typically about 3% overlap in most companies of common targets to making that number more like 50 or 60%, which is our goal. So we're doing a lot of work right now to make sure our products work together to enable that in a better way. But to me, it's nirvana, and it's the way we all should be going.
Oh yeah, it's moving from the odd couple to the perfect couple,
to the perfect
and
couple.
the perfect marriage, all centered around the customer,
around data.
Exactly, data and insights. Now, I guess as business leaders, I'd really like to leave, I guess, our audience today with some advice on how they can build sales and marketing alignment within their organisation. Carrie, can we start with you? What would be your words of advice for anyone listening today that is struggling on building alignment between the two teams?
I've got two things. One is structurally, we have a really strong client relationship marketing team, and they really are the, let's call it the nugget that sits between the sort of marketing team and the sales team, because they embedded in those accounts and truly understand what the sales teams and the entire account team is wanting to do. So they're actually the gold in our sort of sales and marketing intersection. So that just works really well for us. The second thing is, and this is just my personal perspective, language is important. When you talk to salespeople, I think sales sometimes thinks that marketing are developing, let's call it flowery narrative that's not meaningful. And perhaps marketing think that sales are, not necessarily thinking about the great stuff that we've got that we can take to clients. And so from a personal perspective, knowing who you're talking to and going into that conversation using language that you know that's going to actually land, I think is really important.
Yeah, so true. So some great advice there around kind of bringing marketing into the customer relationship through your account-based marketing strategy. And also I love your reference to language, because I think we've always been in a conversation with sales and marketing teams around leads and the greater vision and the story. So trying
relationships
to move that into a common language. Sally, can I ask you what advice you have as almost Switzerland
Almost Switzerland.
between sales and marketing. How can
Switzerland,
revenue
Sally.
operations help build alignment between sales and marketing?
I would say there's kind of two core things from my perspective. The first is actually having shared goals. So I think having shared goals that you're actually going after as a combined sales and marketing org kind of takes the, well, is it mine, is it yours, which metric is this going to hit? It's ultimately you're both on the same page and you're both working to the same outcome. And I think the other piece is also, and it's something that we're working through how best to do at the moment, but it's kind of dissolving this concept of marketing owned versus sales owned. I think in the early days as we built out our sales business, we had a self-serve part of our business and then we also had a managed part, and it was very much a marketing versus sales kind of language used. But I think what we're starting to learn and what we're really trying to anchor towards is that it's all just one customer, and it's that one customer life cycle that we're ultimately following here. And throughout that life cycle, there's going to be different points at which it makes more sense for it to be a marketing-led conversation versus a sales-led or success-led conversation. But they're not necessarily changing that ownership at any point. It's just who's best placed or who's where is the best use of talent and resource to really be going after that message at that point in the customer cycle. So I think ultimately at the end of the day, you're one business and you've got one customer. So having that shared goal and that shared approach to ownership is going to be how you really build that alignment.
Accountability for the same goal. And finally, Gail, as the head of marketing.
So mine's
for
going to be a bit
Sales
fun
Solutions.
to begin with. Someone told me, if you're a CMO and you don't know the kind of coffee your CRO drinks, you're not doing your job. Bottom line, get to know your sales partner, have shared issues, know their pipeline challenges, which regions are doing well, which accounts need help, how you can get involved in helping them close deals. I get on many sales calls, giving the sales and marketing perspective to some of our customers. So leaning in to be a partner, helping to break those walls down. I'm so lucky to have a great partner in Alyssa, who runs our sales effort for Sales Solutions, but we were very intentional about being joined at the hip and understanding who likes what kind of coffee and whose favorite flavor of chocolates. And I'm being funny, but I think that partnership and making it professional and personal, because let's face it, it's a tough environment, as you mentioned, the macro, and so that friendship and that partnership is really the key. And then the processes and the practices and the culture will follow.
Yeah, I love it. Collaboration starts with the morning coffee. Thank you, Gail. Well, that's a wrap for our panel. A big thank you to Sally, Carrie and Gail for joining me on the panel today. I hope we've inspired you with ideas on how to break down the silos of sales and marketing to orchestrate one revenue organisation. Thank you for watching.